What if the story of Genesis concealed an experiment far older than Adam himself? And what if the so-called sons of God were not fallen angels in the mythological sense, but intelligences seeking to awaken consciousness within matter? Today we will explore the enigmatic creation before Adam, the forbidden science of the Watchers, and a surprising connection between ancient technology and the human mind. Two accounts, two creations. The opening pages of the Bible contain two distinct creation stories. In Genesis 1, the text uses the generic name Elohim and describes the making of the cosmos in 6 days, filled with repetitions and patterns. It ends with humanity created as male and female, and with God resting on the 7th day. This version is cosmic and expansive. In contrast, Genesis 2 uses the compound name YHWH Elohim, focuses only on earth, and begins in a dry land that later receives water. Here, God shapes the human from dust, then creates plants, animals, and woman. The sequences differ. First water, then land in Genesis 1, first land, then water in Genesis 2. These divergences suggest that the intent was not scientific, but to offer two complementary perspectives. One transcendent, one intimate, one universal, one human. This tension opens the door to a question. What if there were an interval between the two creations, a forgotten epoch? That is where the sons of God of Genesis 6 enter, arriving in a world already populated, to intervene mysteriously. The sons of God and the enigma of the Nephilim Genesis 6 says that the B'nai Elohim, the sons of God, descended to earth, saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and took them as wives, producing the Nephilim, the mighty ones of old. Nephilim means fallen or cast down. To an ancient Hebrew audience, these sons were members of the divine council, celestial beings serving the Most High. The passage has inspired 3 interpretations. 1. Fallen angels crossing a forbidden boundary with humans. 2. The mingling of righteous and corrupt bloodlines. Or 3. Arrogant human rulers behaving as gods. Whatever the case, the text hints at a non-human intrusion into early humanity. The Nephilim appear as hybrid giants, linked to tales of ancient titans who roamed the earth. This fed later traditions such as the Book of Enoch, which expanded the myth and filled it with details about forbidden knowledge. The Book of Enoch and the Watchers. The Book of Enoch, 3rd–1st centuries BCE, though excluded from the biblical canon, was known to Jews and early Christians and preserved among the Dead Sea Scrolls. It tells how 200 watchers were sent to observe humankind but conspired to take human wives, fathering giants and teaching forbidden arts and sciences. Enoch recounts how these rebellious angels imparted metallurgy, cosmetics, astrology, magic, and herbal lore. This transfer of knowledge transformed humanity. The Watchers, as masters of science, are punished by God, imprisoned in Tartarus until Judgment Day. Their sin was not only lust, but delivering knowledge before its time, diverting natural evolution, and perhaps distorting consciousness itself. The Divine Council and Psalm 82. Another intriguing text is Psalm 82, where God convenes the Elohim in his council and declares, "You are gods, sons of the Most High, but you will die like men." Some scholars see here supernatural beings governing under God, others human judges. Either way, the vision of a celestial council aligns with the idea of divine powers administering creation. When a member violates its role, it is cast down. This motif of divine fall recurs in the rebellion of the Watchers and in Gnostic stories such as that of Sophia, the Aeon whose error brings about a flawed world. Emanations. From the Tree of Life to the Pleroma. Jewish Kabbalah uses the scheme of the 10 Sephirot to explain how the Ein Sof, the infinite, manifests. These Sephirotare modes or attributes, channels through which God expresses himself. They are not God, but vessels that limit and reveal divine light, mediating between expansion and contraction. The Gnostics, meanwhile, spoke of aeons. These emanations arise from the Father spontaneously, born from his overflowing thought or reflected in the primordial waters. The aeons exist in male-female pairs called syzygies and form a central triad: the Father, the Mother, Barbelo, and the Son. The remaining aeons are extensions like fingers of a hand, residing in the pleroma, the fullness of heaven. Barbelo, the first feminine emanation, is not created but flows forth from the abundance of divine thought. In texts such as the secret Book of John, Barbelo is the mother of Christ, and with the Father forms the model of the divine family. This triad recalls the Christian Trinity. Yet in Gnosticism, Barbelo embodies the feminine aspect of spirit, restoring a balanced vision of the divine. Modern science and the simulation hypothesis. The ancient intuition that reality is structured by emanations or codes resonates with modern debates. Philosopher Nick Bostrom argues that if a civilization attains the power to create simulations containing conscious beings, then three possibilities exist. Humanity will perish before achieving such power, humanity will not be interested in simulating its past, or we are living inside a simulation. If the first two are false, the likelihood that our reality is simulated approaches 1. Scientific American notes that this debate is taken seriously. Some physicists and philosophers explore ways to detect programming glitches or quantum inconsistencies that might reveal a simulated universe. Analysis shows that if we ever succeed in simulating conscious beings, the odds of our own reality being simulated skyrocket. Beyond simulations, the question of consciousness challenges science itself. Physicist Roger Penrose, drawing on Gödel's theorem, argues that the human mind possesses non-algorithmic capacities impossible to reproduce through formal rules. This suggests consciousness is not reducible to computation, but involves quantum processes not yet understood. Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff propose that such phenomena occur within neuronal microtubules, where quantum coherence may link distant elements and generate non-computable events. These ideas bring us back to the ancient question: is consciousness a divine gift, a spark no algorithm can replicate? Reinterpretation: the sons of God as programmers of consciousness. If we connect the pieces, the two Genesis accounts, the sons of God, the divine council, the aeons, forbidden science, and modern theory, an intriguing picture emerges. We might view the sons of God not merely as lustful angels, but as intelligences tasked with transferring consciousness into matter. In this reading, the first creation describes the cosmic framework, the second depicts the local intervention on earth. The sons of God, members of the celestial council, descend to participate in an experiment, merging the divine with the terrestrial. By uniting with humans, they not only produce giants, but transmit knowledge, divine code, to accelerate the awakening of consciousness. The forbidden science they teach is not mere weaponry, but the skills to transform reality: metallurgy, agriculture, astronomy, medicine. From this view, the story is not a warning against science itself, but against arrogance and irresponsible use of knowledge. The Watchers are punished because they intervened without permission, seeking to outpace divine timing. Humanity, now endowed with consciousness, must learn to wield wisdom without self-destruction. Contemporary parallels and warnings. Today, we are creating artificial intelligences that learn and self-improve. We are on the verge of simulating universes and editing our own DNA. We resemble the ancient sons of God, playing with the code of life. Simulation theories remind us that a creator might stand behind our reality. Penrose's quantum hypotheses warn that consciousness cannot be easily replicated. Perhaps, like the Watchers, we risk delivering knowledge without wisdom, or perhaps we are invited to complete the experiment responsibly, to unite science with ethics. Conclusion: a call to introspection. The story of creation before Adam is not merely a myth, but a mirror of our condition. It speaks of multiple origins, of beings who transmitted sparks of divinity, and of a humanity that must learn to bear that light. When we contemplate both ancient accounts and modern theories, we are reminded that true knowledge is not the accumulation of data, but the wisdom to live in harmony with the cosmos. Perhaps our brains are receivers of a universal consciousness. Perhaps we dwell within a code written by divine hands, or perhaps we are the scribes of a future yet unborn. What matters is that we do not repeat the fall through pride, for after all, even those called gods can die like men.